Coach Massi here with another episode of Move Your Feet, and we just finished up a horizontal trunk stability series where we talked about how to activate your trunk to avoid lateral flexion during vertical power movements. Now we're going to switch some gears and we're going to talk about how to engage the trunk for vertical trunk stability prior to movements as we move forward in this series. And we're going to try to walk through this and talk about the offset load. And that's what we've been looking at. We've been looking at offset loading. And I do have to apologize. When I was talking about progressions and regressions, obviously the ultimate regression is if you have no offset load, if you have no load at all. And then once we start adding these offset loads or loads in general, which is resistance, that begins to start the progression. So we're going to call Coach Matt back in again. He's sporting his backwards hat, just in case we break out into a spontaneous baseball game and he has to catch. So today, we are going to take a look at him in the vertical aspect. So if he turns and faces the mirror, what we're looking at for is, we're going to make sure he's a tall guy. He's standing tall, he's able to control his flexion or extension of his lumbar spine. And we just want to start to activate those QLs, and we want to get your psoas going. So we're going to just work super slow. We're going to use some of the elementary or rudimentary movements that we utilized prior and talk about how we do the regressions and progression for this vertical trunk stability. So a couple of the tools we're using a couple of ultimate sandbags. We have a tsunami bar. And this one we got to kind of talk through. So why don't we just go down into a static split squat, Matt? All right. So come forward, come towards me a little bit more. Make sure we're still in frame. Good. So Matt's in the static split squat. This is his beginning position. We talked about what is the high action leg, or the leg that gets you to the highest elevation. We're just going to call that the high action leg. So if he just comes from a static split squat and comes to standing, his highest action leg, or the leg that gets him to the highest elevation now, before we bring the box in, was this right leg. So go back down. So we start looking at ways we can add resistance or progress that movement. Well, one of the ways we can do that is Matt can just take a sandbag and he can just hug it right on a medial aspect, or I should say right along his sagittal. And there's not much variation there. It's not much of a degree of difficulty. He's just putting a load. You can put heavier, you can put lighter, right along this side, but it's supported on that high action leg, so it's not going to be very difficult. Just stand, Matt. Boom, and then go back down. Perfect. Now, he's coming up and technically coming up and forward, so if we wanted to progress that, what we would do is we would offset it slightly. He would hook his hand under, and he could actually use his other hand if he needs to anyway to balance it, but we prefer not, where he would go tension, attention, now stand. Now go back down. So that's basically the progression of the regressed side. So what I'm saying is it's the post leg, and just hugging it was the simplest first progression, then offsetting it a little bit more was a little bit more of a progression, or a progression. And that's basically how we add some degree of difficulty to the high action leg side, which is supported, as opposed to being on the opposite side, which is technically unsupported until he comes to standing during the movement. So how do we technically progress this movement? He's in the same position, but now what we're going to do is we're going to take the same idea, and we're going to just have him hug this bag on this side, right along his sagittal plane. And he's not going to offset load it. It's just there. But why is it a progression? Well, let's talk about that. This is his high action leg. This is the leg that gets him to the highest point of elevation. So technically we now put that on that side, the opposite side. As he steps up and through, he's temporarily hovering, or he has a hollow leg, technically momentarily performing a one-leg squat. That's why this becomes the progression to the movement, or the first progression to that side of the movement. And go ahead, stand up. Then back down. And you know, you can argue with me on the terminologies, and I apologize if it's not making sense that way, but this is difficult because we have so many different progressions and regressions when it comes to this vertical trunk stability. So now, here we go. Matt still has it on that side, so what he did was he tried to get a little bit of an offset load. He's going to tension, attention, stand tall, and drive. And then go back down slowly. Remember, intramuscular coordination. That's technically the progression on that side. Okay, now Maddie, you can put that down. So if we want to use that same movement and kind of up the ante a little bit, Matt, you're going to bring in the tsunami bar. Tsunami bar is a flexible barbell system. And the easiest way to add a load here, we'll do the same side, Matt, is he's going to just take the bar and he's going to try to center line it. And just much like he was doing with the bag, he's center lining it. We want to make sure he's not offset loading it one way or the other too much, just to add a little reactivity to the movement and sort of gauging it above the collarbone and on the trap. And you'll know where it is, Matt, when you go and do the movement. And go ahead, press, boom. Okay? He relied on that back toe a little bit and go back down. Now, I like that he got a little reactivity out of it. He got a little snap out of it. So this time I'm going to ask him to come up. He's going to hold for a second, but before that reactivity, that oscillation or amplitude dies, I'm going to have him descend slowly and show me he's got intramuscular coordination. Go. Boom, up. Now go right down. Good boy. And hold it. Perfect. So that is the progression on that side. However, if we really wanted to progress that on that side, which is technically the easier side, right? Because that's your post side, that's your high action leg side. What we would do is we take one side off entirely. Sorry, and now we're going to work them a little bit. So just get down there and hold that static split squat. Once again, we're not even in the progression of the movement itself. We're in the progression of this side itself. That's his high action leg. That's the leg that's taking him the highest elevation. We've now removed the front weight. There is no counterbalance. We're now progressing, I guess, right? Boom, here. Now he could play around. He could put his hands more forward. He could have more amplitude. You can see it's dripping down on him. He doesn't even realize that, so he's going to want tension. There you go. And stand. Go. And then go right back down. Now we're going to try to beat him up a little. You know us, unadulterated, live, and on the fly. All right. So you got that. Look like you're running away or something. Like you got one of those hobo bags. You ready? Tug it. Tension. Attention. Go. Boom. And then go back down. Good. So also, Maddie can play with that as much as he wants to in making a higher degree of difficulty. So now, Matt, what we do is let's throw this back on there, and then let's address the other side. So this would technically be the progression of the movement, but on the other side, because we've been loading towards the high action leg, which we all know is the easiest version, because that post leg is supporting the resistance, the load. Okay, so now, high action leg. However, when he goes to press and stand, that high action leg is no longer supporting this load. It is hovering, and it's also going to be active. And you know, we like to be a little cute around here too and sort of do this to get it moving a little bit, to get a little bit of angle of deflection. Matt can even pull on it and go. And then go back down. Good. So he's actually creating a little of his own reactivity to assist him and lighten up his trunk, right? Gets a little more difficult. All right, Matt, let's pop that end off and show him the ultimate progression on that side. And then we're just going to leap right into the box. All right, let's stay this way so we stay in frame. You know, we're our own film crew today. Come this way. And boom. Okay. Still, high action leg. Kick it forward. I like me some 90-90. He's got that offset here. So this is the progression on that hollow leg side. Matt, can you kind of even start that? It's there, right? Yeah, it's tough. So by virtue of the fact that you made this an offset load, you don't even have to play around with it, because as he goes to stand, he's going to have to force his trunk tall anyway. So attention, attention, and then drive up. Push through and then go back down. Good. One more time. Pull. Reach. Stand tall. Pull down on it. Tension. Drop those elbows, and then sit back. Great. Okay, you can put that guy down. Now we're going to just pull the box into play, pull the box into the frame. Pull it up. All right, right about there. Okay, so now, go on that opposite side. Let's not even use the sandbags. Let's go right into this here.
Also?
Yeah. So Matt's going to go down. Going to get in that split squat. He's switching legs for us here. The offset load is the progression from the completely balanced load, which we don't have to do again for you. If I put this back on, we have the completely balanced load. The offset load is the progression from the balanced load. Matt, is this your high action leg or not? No. Which is your high action leg? You're right. Okay, because we now added another elevation, his high action leg becomes the back leg, which means right now you're technically in the progression, right? So show them what that looks like. And then go back down. It's so tough. Good. Now, show them what the offset regression would look like just by tipping it over your shoulder. Once again, before he goes, if he were in balanced load, it would be the regression of this. But we took this off. It's a progression because it's an offset load. Now, which is your high action leg? This side. Regression or progression?
Regression.
Regression. Boom, hit it. And push. Good, and then go back down. And rest. Good. Put her down. There are so many ways to play with this. There may be debates. I'm sure I'll get emails, and if I went a little too quickly and didn't clarify myself, I apologize. But this is awesome stuff for instilling vertical trunk stability. Be creative. Don't conform. Sure, there are hard and fast rules and science behind what we all do. But listen, utilize these movements as standalone exercises, from the purest static split squat to adding an elevation to the other progressions we even have within these movements. Join us at a lab. Email us, call us, text us. If you have any questions, we are here to help. So until next time, Coach Massi here from M2 Speed, Strength, and Performance. Greatness is forged, not fabricated, and that's your day.